Hi, welcome to the Uptiq AI Workbench. Today I'm going to demonstrate one of our AI agents specifically used for credit memo generation. Here's our commercial loan agent. The commercial loan agent is a tool that back office employees at banks such as loan officers, credit underwriters, relationship managers, etc., can use the loan application information to expedite their review and subsequent approvals and credit memo generation for any loan they are signed. So you'll see the familiar chat-based interface. And I'm going to go ahead and take the position as if I am a loan officer, and I'm going to ask it to generate a credit memo for me. So what the agent is going to do is start to understand the ask. It's going to figure out what is the best next logical step in order for the agent to complete what I've asked it to do of the generation of a credit memo. All right. It wants to know, which client do I want to do this for? I'm going to say I want to do this for John, who is looking for an SBA commercial real estate loan for $650,000. Right now, what the agent is doing is going into the LS system. It's opening up the loan. It's reading each of these documents. You can see it's added and started to review the documents to see if they're complete and accurate, to see if it can generate the memo. And it noticed that we are actually missing the needed accounting data to complete the credit memo. It went ahead and took the next step and asked if we should notify the client to send it over to us to complete that. I'm going to go ahead and use one of these pre-prompts and say yes. All right. Our agent went ahead, put together an email communication for us, and is sending it over to John directly. Let's move over to John to see what it sent over. All right. Here's the email. I'm going to open it up. Here's our request. And it's asking us to connect the accounting data just as it did in the agent. So here's a list of potential connection requests. These are used to get the necessary accounting data in order to ingest it and run the financials to see if it passes the needed credit quality for the loan, and ultimately have that analysis written into the credit memo. So I'm going to click to connect. This connection is brought to us through the Uptiq Data Gateway. The Uptiq Data Gateway is actually a series of over 100 plus connections to financial systems across accounting, payroll, ERP, CRM, etc., that allow for easy connection and easy data transfer. Instead of this client having to reach out to their accountant and ask for their most recent P&L or a balance sheet or another document and do that over a day, it was done so in the amount of time that we talked. We are now connected and sharing that data with the Uptiq agent. So I'm going to go back to our agent here, and it sent us an update that our business data is now available for their business, the FinTech Corporation. It has now read the information, asked if I want to generate the memo. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And now it's going to complete that action for me on my behalf. What it's doing in the background is similar to what that credit officer would be doing. It's opening up all of these documents. It's actually analyzing the spreads, where it's running DSCR calculations, margin analysis. It's writing up summaries of that information. It's learning about the guarantor, writing a summary about the guarantor and their credit quality. And it's structuring the loan, preparing strengths and weaknesses, looking at the credit, looking at potential collateral, taking that information, balancing it against the internal credit policy of whatever lender would be using the agent, and ultimately taking it and putting it to a preferred format. In this case, we're putting it to a pre-made template for a standard credit authorization memo. You can see at the bottom each of the sections that it is going through and currently using and leveraging our fine-tuned LLMs to ultimately put together the document. This process can take anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days, depending on the complexity of the loan, the complexity of the client and the requests and the documentation. However, is being done in the amount of time that we are doing this demo and having a conversation. You can see credit memo is now available to view. So I'm going to go ahead and click to view this credit memo that's been prepared. All right. So here is the example credit memo. It is on the Uptiq template. This template can match any branding of a lender. It's pulled in our information. It's our $650,000 request. It has added here's the spreading information where it did the DCR analysis, spread across the years, did a margin analysis, wrote a summary about that information, wrote a summary about the balance sheet of the business, the guarantor, added an approval section if it's necessary to send these approvals around, showing that it's currently pending because we have not actually asked it to send for approval or write that it's been approved at this point, just generated it for us. And then added the additional context, like some of the highlights, reporting requirements that may be standard to this loan type, strengths and weaknesses, etc. All of this written and prepared in a matter of minutes, sent to you, able to edit, update, send for approval, etc. So that's one example of what this agent was able to do. Let's say it came up, you sent this to your chief credit officer and they said, hey, since this loan is over $500,000, we actually need to run a business valuation. So I'm going to ask it to go ahead and run a business valuation for us. And it's going to start to think about this task the same way we asked it to generate a credit memo, where it's going to think, what are the next steps? Do I have the data that needs to accomplish this? And then take the action on your behalf. So it's reviewing the data that's been provided. It's looking for sources of analysis. It found that source of analysis and actually provided us the feedback that we needed for the business valuation analysis. This could match what you may have as a lender, but also is currently using what we've pre-programmed to run the valuation service. Additionally, again, it took the next step and asked, do we want to go ahead and add this to the credit memo? I can say yes if I feel like I need to add this to the credit memo before sending for approval, or I could say no if I don't feel like I needed to add it and just have this information to potentially copy or even just use to have a conversation with my credit team in our next meeting. That is an example of our commercial loan agent and its ability to review loan applications and give an output that expedites a seemingly long process into a short and accurate response. Once again, this was built on the Uptiq AI workbench.